Welcome to the channel. I'm the Scottish Astrologer, and in this video I will talk about 2021's harvest moon in Pisces, which is conjunct Pisces' modern day ruler Neptune, or alternatively, as Neptune's also known, Poseidon, god of the sea, god of floods, and god of droughts. So, already an extremely terrible sign for the Northern Hemisphere's harvest. Now, regarding my absence, I will address that in my next video. For now, all I will say is it's been a very difficult and transformative Saturn return. But let me return to the harvest moon 2021. Okay, looking at the chart on screen now, as you can see, we have the moon at 28 degrees 14 seconds of the zodiac sign Pisces at 100% illumination. And as I just mentioned, the moon is in conjunction with Neptune, who is located at 21 degrees 37 seconds of Pisces and is also in retrograde. Now, the other major player making their energy felt at the moment of this year's harvest moon is Mars, god of war, who is located at 3 degrees 53 seconds of the zodiac sign Libra, who is in opposition, a tough aspect, with the moon. Now, Mars is also in detriment when located in the zodiac sign of Libra, which means he does not like being there, and so his energy will be more challenging, if you like, or altered from its natural state when in a sign he rules, etc. Or the natural energy of Mars is just badly placed being in a sign such as Libra, which beyond a personal level represents politics or even geopolitics. And so Mars being all about war, power, strength, aggression, etc., you can see why that energy should not be mixing with politics, which should be all about debate and compromise and balance. So you can see why a forceful energy such as Mars being in a sign such as Libra is going to cause the energy to be off. It's not going to be right. It shouldn't be there. And thus, that's why the detriment takes place. As well as, of course, it's the opposite sign from Aries, which Mars is the ruler. Now, to touch on what is going on with the martial energies in Libra during this harvest moon in Pisces. So again, as collectively speaking, Libra is more representing politics and geopolitics. And again, as Mars is in detriment in Libra and is the god of war, again he represents strength, power, military and naval might even. This is a warning that the big powers are gearing up for a major conflict, and we can see that in the real world already with the rhetoric between China and the US and other allies. It's getting rather heated regarding the so-called Indo-Pacific region. It's getting serious, and it's honestly going to take something big for the world to move away from this coming conflict, something truly unifying, or a complete collapse for one of the major powers involved in this conflict. It is also interesting, all the talk of war in the Indo-Pacific, all the outrage over nuclear submarine deals, etc., all relating to water, which is shown by the zodiac sign of Pisces, the moon, and god of the sea, Neptune or Poseidon. So, as above, so below. Again, events written in the heavens sometimes take place before the actual full moon or eclipse or whatever astrological, astronomical event is being discussed, which warns of these such events. Now, this harvest moon, unfortunately, once again shows absolutely terrible harvests. Of course, some areas' crops will have been just fine, but the bulk of the important crops such as wheat, soy, corn, etc. will be terrible. It's been this way for the last 2 years, since 2019, and getting worse year on year. 2019, pre-pandemic, and it will continue gradually getting worse until at least 2026, when Neptune finally starts to move away out of Pisces into the zodiac sign Aries. Again, I have done these harvest moon prediction videos since 2019, predicting terrible harvests and food price rises, etc. And I have been proven correct on these predictions. And of course the pandemic came along as what I see as a perfect cover, if you like, for these issues. But at the same time, it has made these already bad problems we face 100 times or more worse. And that's a scary factor. Or do they know in the next couple of years it's going to get that bad with the crop situations that they're just getting everybody used to basically limited food supplies now? Okay, low availability, high food prices, etc. We're getting us used to it now, so for when it actually does come, we are already more accustomed to it. That's my take on it. You can believe whatever you want about the situation, but I'm just sharing my take on what I think is truly going on. Now, I can say for sure, once again through this chart, but also through the real world reporting on the matter, that once again we will have a terrible harvest, mostly ruined through floods, but also through droughts. And I can see that through Neptune, the god of the sea, floods and droughts, being in conjunction with the moon in Pisces, as above so below. And again, this will be the situation until 2026. When Neptune finally moves out of Pisces. Now, the crop situation may only get a little bit better after this point, as we are, of course, still in a grand solar minimum as well, which shifts weather patterns and creates new grow zones around the world while taking old ones offline. And also, at the moment at least, we don't seem to have the willing physical labour to pick the crops that are good, and so even they are going to waste. Okay, the situation we find ourselves in right now is extremely dire, to say the least. We really need to get our acts together before it's too late. We live in very difficult times right now. Now, the physical labour shortage aspect of all of this is shown by Mars in opposition with the moon. It shows again we don't have the willing physical labour in order to harvest the crops, or farmers physically can't get the equipment in the fields to harvest. It also shows a lot of farmers saying enough is enough and just selling up and getting out of farming altogether, which is bad news. Now, the fact that this chart warns of the terrible harvest as well as an almost unstoppable war with, again, most of the West and China and their allies starting to heat up right now. This is clearly linking these two situations, in my opinion, together. It's basically shouting at us that the coming conflict is actually about the harvest situation, not just this one, but the many that are to come. Now, I know for sure that China, for the past couple of years now, has had their grow zones wiped out with major flooding, and they are basically relying on importing a hell of a lot of food from around the world. But as the crop situation worsens, countries are starting to basically ban their grain exports, etc., in order to feed their own people. And I find it interesting that China has just got more and more aggressive since this crop situation began 2 years ago. I think it's all linked, and I think China will make moves very soon to acquire itself new farming land, if you like, unless there's a major internal collapse in China before they're able to make the move. Okay, but we'll see what happens. And also whether China will actually be successful or not in acquiring themselves some new land, we will see. It was mainly the United States that actually saved them with food exports, okay, for the last year or 2 years. But now with all the rhetoric between the two nations, as well as the farming belt of the US taking a major loss due to drought or flooding this year. I can't see America being able or willing to supply China with what it needs, okay, even, again, if it wanted to. And that goes for the South American nations like Brazil and Argentina also. They're just not going to have the grain either. But China is relying on mainly Russia for grain, etc. this year. Russia may be able to provide it for them. We shall see. Most likely will. And that's probably a good thing for now. But we do need to keep an eye on this situation, a very potentially dangerous one for the world. Now, the sad thing is that there is actually more than enough food on Earth for the whole world to not go hungry, even with reduced crop outputs like we are seeing. The problem is some countries, including my own, and even some individuals, consume way more than their fair share and way more than is actually needed. So basically greed and entitlement are the true enemies here, and that's what's causing the true issues. I just totally feel for the poorer nations who don't have the high prices to pay for food. They're the ones who are going to mainly suffer through all this, okay? People in the West, our countries, we're going to be alright, but we might have less choice, pay higher prices, etc. But we'll be alright in the end. It's countries who can't afford to do that. They're the ones who are going to suffer, and they're the ones we need to pray for and try to help. Mainly. Action mainly. So, another bad harvest year, through mainly flood and drought, but also, again, through a shortage of willing labour. Again, the bad harvests through flood and droughts will continue until at least 2026, until Neptune, Poseidon, god of the sea, floods and droughts, moves out of Pisces and stops directly interacting with nearly every harvest moon. Now, as the world's main grow zones begin to shift to North Africa, you will see the United States, in my opinion, pivot there. Maybe covertly in the beginning. They'll pivot there. Again, currently they're doing it now covertly in like Somalia, etc. They're pivoting there anyway. Now, they are being forced at the same time by China to try and stand up to them with regards to the Indo-Pacific region. And of course they're overstretching themselves with basically declaring war on some of their own people with this whole domestic terrorism as the new big threat. All I can see is big chess moves being played, okay, which I believe all relates to the bigger picture being the world's new mega grow zone, soon to be in the North African region of the world, which both China and the West want control of. Now, there's another side of Mars being in Libra in opposition with the Moon, which I am seeing. And that being politics or opinion really, becoming a bit too forceful, aggressive with the people by trying to force needles in arms through vaccine mandates, vaccine passports, and all their other authoritarian measures designed to force something that you may or may not want into your body. And they are also dividing their people into two camps, the vaxxed and the unvaxxed. Now this is shown, in my opinion, by Libra representing politics and the scales of balance, and again Mars representing the forcefulness, and the Moon representing the people in general, and Pisces representing basically enemies, ordeals and difficulties. Moving on to see how this full moon will affect you on a personal level. You need to look to see which house 28 degrees 14 seconds of Pisces lands in on your natal chart, as this will show you which area of life will be affected or illuminated, or a spotlight put on, so to speak, for you to maybe address accordingly. Now, as I am all about DIY astrology, I encourage you to check out my website to discover all these house meanings, etc. for yourself. Now, the link I have left in the description box below for you all. Okay folks, I think that's all for this video. A huge thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit the bell at the right hand side of the subscribe button. Until next time, take care.